good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever the case might be. Make sure you are subscribed, that you are checking out the bell icon so that you get notifications, and like, comment, and share. I do most of what I do because I see things, they make me angry, they pique my interest, they make me scratch my head, then things that make you go, And I have one today, as you can see by the title of the video, that made me go, and this won't be as long. But I have a friend in the Albert Lea School District area. Most of you have seen a couple of my videos with her and talking about her. Her name is Lisa Hansen. She is still the owner of the Interchange Coffee and Wine Bistro. She's still a member of the community. She is a taxpayer in Freeborn County, and I believe that as a business owner in Freeborn County in Albert Lea, she has a vested interest in the direction of the school district there. And I want you guys to watch this interaction. My friend Lisa made me aware of a video that, of the school board. And there's an interesting interaction in the school board meeting from the Albert Lea School Board on May 17th that involves the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Funk. I don't want to be disrespectful to his doctorate, but Dr. Funk, I don't care to know his first name. It's not a big deal to me. But there's a very interesting interaction that takes place during a school board meeting. And I actually have watched the entire school board meeting up until the point that I'm about to share with you. And it's very clear that Dr. Funk is in charge. Very clear that he is there running the meeting, and that the chair of the school board of the Albert Lea Public School System is there to rubber stamp the agenda and only to facilitate things by being the titular head of the school board. That's it. Dr. Funk is in charge, clearly in charge. Now, I'm sure he probably wouldn't disagree with me on that, but is that the way it should be? So let's take a look at a section, if you will, of this meeting.
This is for outdoor venues. Can you zoom that a little bit, Ashley? Okay, so this is from May 13th, late last week. Recommendations: implement and maintain social distance of 6 feet between all persons or groups. Recommend social distancing between households. Reduce occupant capacity to allow for sufficient space for persons or groups outdoors to maintain 6 feet. Ensure that patrons maintain social distancing. So this is in effect until. So here's our situation at Albert Lea High School. Knowing the limitations that we've had, about a month ago, the administration requested that families receive 4 tickets due to spacing constraints. They also have taken a look at the stadium. We're going to have the choir there. We're going to have, the graduates are going to be there, and of course the families are going to be there. So we heard your request there, and then we looked at it. Capacity on the home side of the stadium, which is what the plan is, just to use the home like we did last summer, is 1,700 people. That's with 18 inches separating people. If we increase tickets to 8, it would be, we're planning on about 200 graduates. It would be 1,600 people with no social distancing, completely in.
So what you need to understand here is that at the beginning, there were student representatives from student government that come and give updates, commentary. And one of those students at the beginning is also a graduating senior, and he asked the school board to consider increasing the number of people allowed per family to come to graduation from, I think it was 4 to 8 or 6 to 8 or something like that. So now what we have here is we have the school board superintendent starting to lay out what's going to transpire based on that request, and then ensuing conversation based on his information here.
With the state recommendations. The other thing we looked at is, can we turn people around potentially, base the graduates one way and have people on the other side? We've told families you're getting 4 tickets. We don't have a plan as of today for the other side of the stadium, and how we would get people across there. So am I saying we can't do it? Potentially. But that's kind of where we're at as far as that piece of it goes. But we can't get 1,600 people on the home new side of the stadium. So my recommendation is, if a family's got extenuating circumstances and they need more tickets, yeah, we can get a few more people on that home side, and we should work with the high school administration on a case-by-case basis to do it. If we were to suddenly tell folks, okay, well, we told you for a month that you get 4 tickets, and the rules really haven't changed for us because we're still under the same rules we were, and suddenly now we're going to let you have 6 or 8, you're going to get pushback from the community that says, well, I was going to have my grandparents come, but I was told that you didn't have enough tickets, so now they're not coming. So this is the plan we've been going with. Can we adjust it? Yeah, potentially. But again, this is the safest model that we thought we would be able to accommodate moving forward here. And the other thing we thought is, well, we have 4 tickets this year. Last year we limited it to 2. And
It's so very magnanimous of the school district to increase it to 4 people for a graduation.
I think in a typical year,
the people should just bow down and praise and thank you.
I've never had a need for 8 or 10 tickets at Albert Lea High School. I don't think we have the capacity in that gymnasium to have 8 or 10 tickets per person. So anyhow, that's our thought on so the situation. Open discussion with the board on that. But if we were to expand,
just remember what he said. He's open to discussion with the board on the issue of expanding. I want you just remember, he just said he's open to discussion. First of all, Mr. Superintendent, you don't get to tell the board whether or not you're open to discussion. That's not your place. Your place is to answer questions as they're put to you by the school board, because they are the elected representatives, and therefore they are the authority over you as they represent we the people of the Albert Lea Public School District. Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Funk, who cares if you're open to it? The question is if you're not open to it, what are the repercussions if you're not open to it? But we're going to see just how open he is.
Footprint and how we're going to lay this thing out. Yes, we will be broadcasting a live stream, and I think Power 96 will also be operating a live stream through their site.
Although I understand the issue that if somebody did want their grandparents to come and they weren't able to make those arrangements at the last minute, I do believe that increasing from 4 to 8 could be possible. As you said, if we turn the footprint and use both sides of the bleachers, to me that would have, I believe, a positive effect for more families than if we just said we need to stay with what we've said. I mean, we were just saying earlier today that this whole year has been about flexibility and change, and so I think it would be understood that we kind of had this plan, but now things are looking better, the numbers are looking better. State and federal are changing mandates. And so it would make sense to change the footprint and use our facility to the fullest so that we can have as many graduate guests as they can have.
Any other thoughts, Kim?
So I have a couple of comments. So just to give you perspective, Minnesota State colleges and universities told their presidents that they had to decide on how they were going to do their graduations this year. In February, they had to make that decision because of the logistics involved, and yes, most of those colleges and universities are more students, and so that looks a little different. So just to put that in perspective about the logistics of changing or pivoting for graduation, I'm concerned about that for our staff. And I could be wrong, but I think in past, it's been more like 6 tickets that families get in a normal year. And then you could, on a first come, first serve basis, if you wanted more people, then you would let the administration know. So very similar to what we're going to do this year, like if there were situations. So my concern would be while we have all year, faced adversity and pivoted, I'm concerned on the communication, the ability to communicate that out and pivot in a week like that, logistically. I think our staff could totally do it, but who's that message not getting to? And are we gonna have more, is it gonna be difficult for our staff? And so I'm concerned about that. I also believe that going from 2 to 4, from some of the concerns we had last year from people about, it would be nice if we could have 4 tickets because we might have, we have a split family or something like that. So I feel like we're addressing that with the 4. That's my thoughts.
Angie?
I would echo what Jill had said. I think with the recent changes in the mandate, people are really itching to get back to normal. And if it is possible, I know those are some valid concerns with the staff. If it is possible to turn on a dime, I would support that. Would it be more feasible to do 6 instead of 8, or is it a problem no matter what?
I don't think it's a number. I think we have a few people who want extra tickets. And if those people want extra tickets, I think they work with the high school administration and we're flexible with them. This is not been a big issue. Mark, have you had a lot of pushback as the high school principal on the 4th?
Mark's gone, right? No.
Okay. I heard, until this weekend, I heard 0 pushback.
Well, we are up 100% from last year, from 2 to 4. So we did give a little bit more. And I think, like you said, there's probably not an overall amount of people asking for 6 to 8 tickets. So if they would work with them at the high school, I think that would be a good solution, like they have in the past. I don't remember getting over 6 in a normal year, as we call it, with my kids, but that's been a number of years ago. I don't remember exactly. Neil.
Yeah, I've said many times there's nothing good about this COVID pandemic. And none of the resulting decisions are favorable. And this is probably another example of that. And as the way I see it, is the only way that we can present something that is favorable would be to defy the mandates that have been handed to us by State Department.
There you go, sir. Bingo. Defy the mandates. Defy them. And here's why. Because as a school board, and a school board member, sir, you are what is referred to, according to Christian doctrine, a lesser magistrate, which means you have a responsibility to do the will of the people that you are closest to and protect them from overreach and abuse by higher magistrates. And the state is a higher magistrate who is imposing upon the people something that is unnecessary. You have a responsibility to resist that for the good of your people. But what you're saying is I don't, we can't tangle with it. We can't tangle with these mandates from the state.
And I don't really, I don't want to get into that category this time.
Because you're a coward. You're a coward. You don't want to tackle the state because you're a coward, because you've forgotten who you represent. You're just like all but one of the Owatonna school board members. You think that once you get elected onto the school board, you now answer to the state and not to the people. That's cowardice. That's also a power grab.
If we pursue courses that are contrary to that which has been mandated, we add to chaos and confusion, and I'm particularly against chaos and confusion. So, and the option of opening up both sides, we have that in the gymnasium, the high school, but that's a very small place, and you can be on either side, and you can still pretty well see what's going on, even though now you have a rectangular. I would assume that a stage and the students would be on one end of the football, or toward one end of the football field. People on either side would, I would think there wouldn't be any good seats. I see an awful lot of, it'd be problematic to try to have fill up seats on both sides of the stage. So, and then hearing the comments that typically we know there isn't that great. I mean, we typically have what, 6 to 8. I'm not familiar with this. If we can be, flexible to the extent of accommodating those that have a dire need, I would think that would be sufficient. I mean, but again, it's not what everybody wants. But I don't think anybody wanted a pandemic either.
There was no pandemic. It was not a pandemic. And if you're wondering what I'm doing by looking down at my phone, I'm reading notes. I have to sometimes. And I've been doing so much of this lately. I have no choice.
Yeah, Aaron.
Sorry for the audio. It's somebody's off mic, and it's even hard for me to hear. The person that's speaking right now is the high school student that's graduating that's the one that requested an increase in tickets. And he's making an argument why he thinks it would be a good idea and the reason why he's for it. So this is this part right here. This is a student, a member of the school district, a person that the school board represents, showed a willingness to compromise on his ask. Instead of 8, he said, well, we can do 6. But he doesn't want it just for him. He wants it for the entire student body of graduating seniors. That's what he wants. And he's asking very politely, very civilly. He's showing willingness to compromise. He's like, I'll give some ground. Instead of 8, I'll ask for 6. It's the role now of the school board to represent him. And you're about to see that take place by one particular person.
I've heard, extenuating circumstances or dire need, and I'm curious of how that would even be negotiated, because it seems like an equitable distribution would make more sense and be best for most families, because if we're thinking there's going to be a communication problem, letting people know they are getting free tickets, and then you're going to tell them you need to express to us extenuating circumstances or a dire need. To me, that's a greater communication issue, and it's a circumstance of less equity.
Now, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I like the fact that the word I hate the word equity, but I like the fact that equity was brought into play here. But what this also should tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that equity is being taught in the Albert Lea Public Schools. Critical theory is being taught in the Albert Lea Public Schools. And you now have the school board using the language of critical theory, talking about, are you ready? Talking about how to handle graduation and how many people to let in and not let in.
Dennis?
I don't know. I'd have to get out. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I mean, they're telling us 6 feet apart between families. All right. So you're talking families, 2, 4, 6 people. Okay. I don't think you're gonna be able to keep them all on one side.
They're not asking to be kept on one side. They're saying, can we expand it and change the footprint? And you can hear in Mr. Funk's voice that he's getting frustrated. He was open to conversation on the issue, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He's getting pushback, and he's got people asking questions, which is their responsibility, and it's their duty to do, is to ask him as an appointed servant of the school board and of the people of the school district. It's their duty to ask him questions, and it's his duty to respond and to not be frustrated that he has to. But you can hear the frustration in his voice. I wish I could see his face.
How's it set up out there? How's the ceremony gonna, the stage or whatever?
So currently, and again, we're setting up as we did last year. So basically, in the middle of the field is where the graduates sit, and they're facing the visiting stands. The stage is facing the home stands. So the stage is in front of the graduates, and then behind is the visiting stands where the graduates, basically they stage there. So they go in, they sit down, and they then come from there down onto the field, and then they come out. So the recommendation was to do that same method again. So we have a spot for the graduates. Okay, we don't know. We can stage them maybe in the parking lot behind the field house or in front of the field house, but we don't have a spot right now to stage them. So if we were to use two sides, the logistics is, all right, how do we decide who sits on that side and who sits on this side? Then how do we get people from, and what if we say, okay, well, this amount of people are going to sit over here. Well, what if they have wheelchairs? Yep, now you're going to take your chair all the way over with your family because your family's over there.
This is asinine. This is literally asinine. It is not that hard to figure this out. Okay, this is not rocket science, Mr. Funk. You were literally obfuscating right now because you don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want to do this. Because it doesn't go with what you've decided. You don't like change. You don't like being challenged. That's it. You don't like. I can hear it. You're over here going, you guys haven't thought about this the way that I have. It's not that hard. It is not that hard. You just don't want to change it because you've already made up your mind. And how dare anybody say, hey, let's look at an option that might be better for the people of the school district. The people of the school district. You know, the people that you work for. The people that you serve, Mr. Funk. You're an appointed servant. Appointed by the school board. You work for the school board. They employ you. They're in charge. And they're in charge because the people of the school district have said, you're going to represent us and you're going to do what we want. And you don't like that.
We would have more support people guiding people from one side to the other. We could have people with wheelchairs park in the field house parking lot. But there's a lot of just moving pieces that a few weeks ago, Mark came to me and said he wants to use one side. He's looked at this, and him and Paul got out, they measured, and they said one side. And I said, okay, you've got 4 tickets a person. That's where it is. So if we were to go 2 sides, we would have some of those issues. And then
so deal with it.
Determination on if we place the graduates towards the scoreboard, where's the sun going to be in their eyes? Because they should, I mean, if they're facing the field house, they won't be able to see the scoreboard. And we have all the graduates streaming on the scoreboard. And so if we put them on the field house side, people will be looking at their graduate, put their scoreboard, their graduates up here on the big screen. So which direction should they be looking at? So those are all just little factors that we're taking into account while trying to plan this thing.
No, you've already made the plan and you don't want it challenged.
Yeah, we can do it. But and we had a track meet that because of the choir concert tonight, we had a track meet that we had to move. And it was going to be Thursday. Nope, we're setting up. So we moved it to Wednesday so we can set up on Thursday. I mean, so there's just a lot of pieces in this.
But that doesn't affect track meet being moved. Doesn't affect which. Oh.
Yeah, so Mike, you said a few weeks ago, then that's when the students were told that they get 4. So I want people to put it in perspective. So if we pivot and add 2, and Aaron, you have great ideas, but I'm wondering who is going to do that communication with what else is on their plate right now, and getting those those tickets out.
It's not that hard.
Of that's concerning for me in 3 or 4 days.
Too bad.
Not just the field, but if it's 4 weeks it took us to get that 4 tickets out, and get that all situated. You're asking to, I wish Danny was here. because she could tell you what that looks like. That's my concern, is that we're going to ask staff to do something that is going to be very intense. And I know they can do it. I just
Then what's the problem?
that we're gonna have people that are missed, and then that becomes an issue as well. And to Jill's point, I think in the past, if we called and said, hey, I have grandparents from out of town that want to attend, if there were tickets left, so I don't think it had to be necessarily dire or specific situations. I think they just took them as they could, but knowing that they were on a first come, first served basis. So once our ticket count was done, that's what we had, because the high school was restrictive indoors for how many tickets. So it's a very similar kind of feel.
Angie?
I think these are all good points and it's good information. I think people would really appreciate having the option to go. I'd like to make a motion that we...
I don't know who this lady is. I love her to death. Angie School Board. I'm just going to call you Angie School Board because I don't know who you are. Angie School Board member. You know your role as a representative for the people. And it's amazing. And thank you for hearing that young student, that graduating student asking, can we please do something so we can have more of the graduating student body have friends and family there. And Angie's hearing that, and she's considering the people who she works for. And she's saying, I want to do something about that. And she just said, I want to make a motion.
Increase it to 6.
Yes, I don't really know if motion is in order. Is it more of an operational issue?
No, she's a school board member. She's making a motion to represent the people. You are not there, Mr. Chair of the school board, to rubber stamp whatever the superintendent and the facilities people say. You're there to do the will of the people. And Angie's trying to do that.
But you made the motion, and we'll see if there's a second. I gotta go with it. Okay, Jill seconded it.
Jill, whether you agree with Angie or not, thank you for doing your job as a representative of we the people. Mr. Chair, you were looking at people, basically giving them the eye, like, don't do this.
Any other discussion? Aaron?
I know what you're saying, yes, there would be a bit of a time crunch, but I've also heard say we can do it. And I think seniors get, you experienced this last year. This is one day. Seniors get this opportunity one time in their life. If we can do it, we should do it. Seniors deserve this. They worked hard to do it. And the perseverance is incredibly tough. So I think if we can do it, we should do it.
Punk? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, just so we know what we're voting on, what would be the consequences and the result of increasing the number from 4 to 6?
I've already talked about this ad nauseum. Why are you delaying this?
Where's the other 400 going to sit? Like you were saying before, you can't spread them out 6 feet like the guidelines. They're not going to be happy anyway when they got to wear a mask. People now don't like to wear masks, and when the new guidelines say you don't have to in some places. So
do your job as lesser magistrates and tell the people they don't have to wear masks, because you're going to watch out for them and protect them from an overbearing state.
I'm concerned about the logistics also, and going basically against the guidelines, even though at this time, well, I guess the guidelines would take, is it the 27th you had up there is when they would change again?
28th is when they would
28th
change.
it was. So we'd technically be changing something that's out of guideline at this point.
It's your school district, Mr. Chair. It's your school district. It's not the school district of the state of Minnesota. It's an independent school district. It's the Albert Lea Independent School District. It's you've been elected by we the people, the true government of we the people, for the people, by the people, to do what is good for them, not for what's good for the state. And what's good for them is to let them go into this venue and have a graduation with 6 people instead of 4 per student. Make it happen. Don't worry about the state guidelines. Don't worry about the state mandates. It's your school district. You have authority over your school district. No one else does.
Since our ceremony is previous to that date.
So afraid of
I
all
would disagree with
reaching
that
state.
statement because I don't think that the spirit of the motion is to violate a guidance. I think the spirit of the motion is to change our footprint to accommodate
That's right.
families of graduates.
That's right.
Is that what you're looking at, Angie? Since you made the motion?
Sure, however it would work.
See, this is where this is getting awfully, okay, you're making motions on whatever works. All right, that's not how we operate as a school district. That's not how we've ever operated as a school district since I've been here. Okay? We don't do whatever works. All right? That's why you have an administration. Okay? So I can tell you, we will work with families to accommodate their needs. That's what I can tell you. But for you making a motion to do whatever works, to add, 400 tickets to graduation, is not how we've operated as a district. You're diving into operations.
Mr. Funk has forgotten that he works for Angie, school board member, and for the community. He's forgotten that. And you have a school board member who made a motion to try and represent the people of the community as best as she could under the circumstances and said, let's make this happen. And you're dressing her down, telling her she's doing it wrong. You, Mr. School Board Member, are out of line. Or excuse me, you, Mr. Funk, are out of line. You've forgotten your place. And that school board needs to put you back in check. You don't run things.
Disagree with that statement. The motion is not for whatever works. The motion is that it moved from 4 tickets to 6 tickets. And of course, as a district, we would have to move all of the pieces to accommodate guidelines.
So my input would be that we didn't vote to do 4. So why would we vote to do 6? We really have to be careful here that we're not overstepping. We are a governance board, and we're gonna get close to overstepping this management piece, you guys. This is my concern, and we can have debate about that, but that has to be stated. We didn't make the decision to give 4. So how can we really legitimately change that decision to 6?
Because you're the board. It's your responsibility to do that. if you have a community that's asking for it. And so far, the community is asking for it. Granted, it's not 5,000 people sitting in that room asking for it, but there are people in the community asking for it. And you have 2 school board members who have stepped up and said, I'm going to represent the people who voted for me. So if we're open to a discussion, as Mr. Funk said he was, then why is it such a problem? And who does he think he is telling a school board member they're out of line? And now you're backing him up because you're afraid of him.
Here's part of the problem, all right? So yes, okay, we can try to work with, I said we work with families to meet their needs. Because this was thrown at us yesterday, we have no idea what adding 400 people to that grandstand does, all right? Or what our capacity is or anything like that. And this is where I'm saying, all right, we don't know, okay? So what I can tell you is, all right, if we are going to work with the families to meet their needs, okay, and we encourage them to work with the high school administration to do this. And again, this is the high school administration's plan. They requested 4 tickets. They requested one side of the stadium. All right, and so they know what's going on there. I don't know as much as you folks, maybe a little bit more about this, but this is the request coming from the high school administration. I didn't change it from 4 to 6. I said this is something we would look into, and
he's getting really frustrated.
That is what I brought to you tonight. So that's kind of where we're at. So what I'm saying is, all right, we can examine to see what we've got, okay, as far as capacity on the home side. And we can look at, okay, maybe not even we've got grass on both sides that we're not counting the capacity on the home side. And there are other things that potentially we could do around the wings without getting into the other side. But we don't know the scope of the need as far as, okay, and again, we can communicate to families, all right, if the need exists, please contact the administration, and we can identify it from there. But to blanket just say, let's give them 400 more tickets, I don't know if I got 400 spots at this point without opening up the other side.
Then make it happen.
I'll call the question.
Yes. Okay. We're going to do a voice vote on this one also. Excuse me. Roll call. Oh, yes. Thank you, Jill. And I'll say, and again, the motion was just to blanket add 2 more tickets to each graduating senior. Correct, Angie? Okay. I'll start on Bruce's side. Yes for adding, no for not adding. Jill? Yes. Neil? No. Kim? Dennis? No. Angie? Yes. And I vote no also.
So I don't care about the rest of it. Angie and Jill, whoever they are, as elected servants of the people of the Albert Lea School District, just did their job. They just did their job. And the rest of the school board disagreed with them. And that's fine. That they're entitled to. But what isn't right is the fact that that superintendent politely dressed down a school board member for stepping out of line. That's exactly what he did. He dressed down a school board member for stepping out of line. He has no right. He has no authority. He has no he doesn't, he made the comment, I'm open to have some discussion. But then as discussion went on, he wasn't open to it. This man is running that school board. He's running the school board. I guarantee you this man is running the school board. And I guarantee you whatever he says he wants, he gets. I could be wrong. I'm speculating. This is my opinion. This is what I'm allowed to do as a commentator with an independent commentary and political talk venue. I'm allowed to have an opinion on that. And in the tone of his voice, I am hearing a little tiny tyrant in the making. He doesn't like to be challenged. He's running things. And the school board is there to rubber stamp what he wants. And the fact that he told that school board member that she was out of line for challenging that tells you everything you need to know about the state of elected and appointed public servants. I've been saying this over and over and over again. They're out of line. A Monday night at 5, I believe, in Albert Lea, they're having another school board meeting. People in the Albert Lea School District need to be aware that they have a responsibility to be in the school board meetings. They need to be there. They need to be addressing things. I guarantee you that critical theory is being taught there already. I'm already hearing it in the language of the school board. The superintendent is out of line. He has forgotten who he works for. He has forgotten who employs him. He gets paid by the taxpayers of that school district to do a job. And that is to answer to the school board as the school board answers to the public. And I want to applaud Angie and Jill for doing the right thing in this situation. Didn't work in your favor, but you did the right thing. And the superintendent has no right to dress you down like that. None, no right to dress you down like that. The rest of the school board disagreed with you. Case closed. That's the way it goes. Superintendent has no right to dress you down like that. Mr. Funk, you've forgotten your place. And if that had been me sitting on that council, that board, and you talked to another board member like that, whether I agreed with the board member or not, I would have said, sir, you will be quiet. This board member made a motion, and you are not going to dress them down and tell them that they don't have a right to, or they don't have the authority to, or that they don't get to do that because it's not in the purview of the scope of their job, of their role as an elected servant of the people of the Albert Lea School District. You, sir, will answer questions and you will give us feedback, but you will not dress down a school board member. Albert Lea citizens, whether you agreed with Angie and Jill or not, you need to go and make sure that that superintendent is not treating his employers, the people who he answers to, that way. He is not in charge, and he has forgotten that. And this is why I end my broadcast with sic semper tyrannis. Hey, this is a last-minute addendum to the video. Subsequent to shooting the video and my commentary on this interaction at the Albert Lea School Board, my source made me aware that 2 days after this meeting, Superintendent Funk of the Albert Lea School District summarily and arbitrarily just changed the ticket count from 4 to 6 after dressing down the two school board members, this Angie school board member and Jill school board member, for overstepping their bounds. And one of the school board members saying, "Oh, we're treading very dangerously here on interfering in administration duties." After then putting them through the rigmarole of not allowing them to really vocalize why it was important to them to add these 2 extra seats, and belittling them, especially this Angie, whoever she is, Funk turns around and adds 2 more tickets to the capacity for every graduating student. after the school board voted no on the motion. Let that sink in. I realize that this video is probably going to bring some heat down on these two school board members, this Angie and this Jill, because they dared to be vocal. What we need to do is we need to rally behind these two, because they're actually doing what they were elected to do as public servants. The people that are not acting as public servants in this video that you've watched are not Angie and Jill. It is Superintendent Funk. He's acting like a tiny little despot. He's a tiny little man. He's a tiny little man with a temper. He's a tiny little man with a temper who doesn't like to be challenged. He's a tiny little man with a temper who doesn't like to be challenged, who likes to think that he runs the school board and that school board is there to rubber stamp everything that he says. What we need to do is start to show up en masse at these school board meetings and comment during public comment section. And what needs to happen is he needs to be reminded that he serves the people of the Albert Lea School District, that he answers to the people by answering to the school board. He needs to be reminded over and over and over again in every school board meeting from this point forward, in every work session from this point forward, that he is a public servant who answers to the school board, who answers to the people, we the people of the Albert Lea School District. That's what needs to happen. People need to back up this Angie school board member and this Jill school board member, whoever they are. And this is my offer to you, Angie and Jill. If you get heat from the school board, from the chair or the vice chair or anybody else on the school board, if you get heat from this Superintendent Funk, you let me know. And we'll sit down and we'll have a conversation and we'll put it all out there. And then we'll start to do Data Practices Act requests for all of the emails that go on between the superintendent and the school board chair and the school board vice chair. And we will inundate them with Data Practices Act requests. We'll find out just how much shady stuff is happening in this school district. So, Angie and Jill school board members, if you get any crap for this, if you get any heat for this, because someone dared to speak out, you let me know. We'll address it. We'll address it publicly, and we'll put it out there for everyone to see. Petty tyrants are petty tyrants. And Mr. Funk is the pettiest of them all.